This is another video on how to use L'Hopital's rule and get full credit on the AP Calculus exam free response section. As I've said in previous videos, if this is a multiple choice, you can do anything, you can apply the work in any way that makes the most sense. For most people, when they're going to use L'Hopital's rule, that means just kind of crossing out and writing 6x plus 7 above it or e to the x plus 2 below it. And that's fine. That's multiple choice. No one's going to look at your work. But on the free response, your work is going to be checked, and it is going to be important. So I've made a couple examples here, and I'm going to I'll link to the other one at the end of this video. First thing to note is, of course, you should always just plug in the value. So if I plug in infinity, 3 times infinity squared plus 7 times infinity, this is definitely going to infinity. And at the bottom, if I e to the infinity plus 2 times infinity, that is definitely going to infinity. This is one of the indeterminate forms that L'Hopital will work for. And I just want to mention that the sign on your infinity does not matter. If it was plus or minus, L'Hopital's rule would still work here. So any infinity over infinity will work as a way to use L'Hopital's rule. Now, oftentimes I would use what are called the laws of dominance and look for the highest powered thing, in this case e to the x, and use a rule there. But yeah, let's use L'Hopital because it's a nice way to justify. Now, as I've stated in a previous video, you have two choices on how to write this. The way that I've done it with arrows to infinity, that's fine. That would earn full points. But another more mathy way that maybe looks a little nicer is to state each part separately. Say, well, the limit of the numerator is infinity. It's going to infinity. And the limit of the denominator is infinity. And therefore, I can use L'Hopital's rule. And either way that you choose to write this, like I said, I kind of like the blue one as a, hey, that looks like I know what I'm doing. But this earns full credit. So on the AP exam, you might say, well, this is faster. And I'm looking to get through all the problems. Once you've written this, you should state, I have justified that I can use L'Hopital's rule. We use it. Derivative of the top, derivative of the bottom. And we take the limit again. And remember, you must restate that you're taking the limit. Well, what we find out here is that once again, we're going to infinity on the top and the bottom. 6 times infinity plus 7 and e to the infinity plus 2. Please remember, you could also rewrite in this format. You could write, the limit of 6x plus 7. I'm not going to do that just for the interest of time here. But what we can then say is, well, since it's still in that indeterminate form, we can use L'Hopital again. Derivative of the top, derivative of the bottom, limit as x goes to infinity. Well, I'm going to make a little note here. The top now is just 6. It's just 6. It's a horizontal line. The top is. The bottom is getting infinitely large. Well, 6 over something getting infinitely large has a limit of 0. So this would be the way to prove that that limit is 0 using L'Hopital's rule with the correct notation that would earn us full credit on the AP exam. Please remember, you can keep using L'Hopital as long as you stay in an indeterminate form. Either most of the time on the AP exam, that will be a plus or minus infinity over plus or minus infinity, or 0 over 0. As soon as you're out of that indeterminate form, like we were here, where we had 6 and infinity, well, then we got to be able to evaluate the limit. We got to be able to come up with an answer. Okay? Again, look at my other video for another example of how to get full credit on a L'Hopital question.